Don't drink this. The boy's terrified scream stopped a retired officer just as a stranger's poisoned bottle touched his lips. His loyal dog growled, the crowd froze, and within seconds, a shocking truth unraveled. What began as an ordinary afternoon turned into a story of danger, revenge, and unexpected family. It was a bright afternoon in Brookside, the kind of small American town where people believed they were safe from the world's shadows. The sun stretched over Riverside Gardens Park, painting the fountain's water in gold, while laughter from children floated like music across the open lawns. On a wooden bench near the fountain sat Officer James Walker, though to anyone passing by, his eyes scanned the world with quiet vigilance that reminded people he was still a protector. At his side lay Titan, a broad-shouldered German shepherd with a dark sable coat, streaks of gray showing in his fur. Titan was more than a dog. He was a survivor, scarred from years of service, but still brimming with loyalty. His amber eyes stayed sharp, though his body rested against the grass, one ear twitching at every noise. To James, Titan wasn't just a partner. He was family. They had faced dangers together that no ordinary person could imagine. Today, though, they had traded chaos for peace. James leaned back on the bench, exhaling deeply, his hand brushing behind Titan's ear. The dog's tail thumped lazily against the ground, their bond needing no words. The park bustled around them. Joggers ran past with earbuds in, parents pushed strollers, pigeons fluttered at the fountain. Life was ordinary, calm, safe, or at least it appeared that way. But peace, James knew too well, was often deceiving. A short distance away, leaning against a lamppost, stood Eli Turner. He didn't fit the picture of peace that the park painted. His shirt was wrinkled, jeans torn at the knee, shoes barely holding together. His face bore smudges of dirt, and his brown hair was messy as if combed only by the wind. Most people ignored him, the way society so often ignored children who didn't belong to anyone. But Eli's eyes told a different story. They were sharp, watchful, filled with an awareness no 10-year-old should carry. Eli had been through more than most adults. His parents had died in a car crash 2 years ago. Since then, his life had been tossed from one foster home to another. Instead of comfort, he met cruelty, neglect from guardians who only cared for the checks, bullying from kids who called him worthless. And so, Eli learned not to expect kindness from the world. He learned to survive by watching, listening, and staying alert. That's why he was in the park. It wasn't just a wander. It was his escape, a place where he could breathe, sit on the grass, and watch families that reminded him of what he had lost. But today, something different caught his eye. From where he stood, Eli noticed a man strolling casually down the path. He wore a dark jacket despite the warm sun, and in his hand he clutched a plastic bottle, half filled with a red drink that glistened unnaturally under the light. Most people wouldn't have thought twice about him, but Eli had survived too long by trusting his gut, and his gut told him this man wasn't right. The way his eyes shifted constantly, the way his smile seemed practiced instead of real, the way he avoided Titan's piercing stare as he neared the bench, none of it felt normal. Eli's chest tightened, his instincts whispered danger. Victor Hale slowed as he approached the bench. His smile widened, casual, almost friendly. "Hot day, isn't it?" he said smoothly, extending the bottle toward James. "You look like you could use a drink, officer." James glanced up, raising a brow. It wasn't unusual for strangers to strike up conversations. Many recognized him from years of service. Some just wanted to greet Titan, whose presence always drew admiration. But Titan wasn't calm now. The German shepherd's ears pricked high, his muscles stiffened, and a low growl rolled deep from his chest. His amber eyes locked on Victor with unblinking suspicion. James chuckled softly, patting the dog's head. "Easy, boy." To Victor, he said politely, "Appreciate it." He reached instinctively toward the offered bottle. Eli's heart raced. He had seen something the others missed. Moments ago, by the fountain, Victor had twisted that bottle open and poured something from a small vial into the liquid. Eli hadn't known what it was, but he had known it wasn't right. And now the officer, the only man in town who had ever smiled kindly at Eli, was about to drink it. "No!" Eli's voice cracked through the air, louder than he'd ever dared to shout. "Don't drink that!" The park froze. Conversations halted. Dozens of eyes turned toward the boy sprinting from the lamppost, his face pale, his hands trembling as he pointed at Victor. James froze mid-motion, the bottle hovering inches from his lips. He looked first at Eli, then at Victor, whose easy smile faltered just for a heartbeat. Titan's growl deepened into furious barking, his body lunging forward on the leash, teeth bared. "What's going on?" James demanded, his voice steady but edged with suspicion. Eli skidded to a stop in front of the bench, gasping for breath. I saw him," he stammered. "By the fountain. He put something in that bottle. I swear it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Parents pulled their children close. Whispers spread like fire. Victor's face tightened. "That's ridiculous," he snapped. "I was just offering a drink. The kid's making it up." But his words were drowned out by Titan's relentless snarls. The shepherd lunged again, hackles raised, circling him like a predator. Every move Victor tried to make, Titan cut off, forcing him to stumble back. James's instincts kicked in. He lowered the bottle carefully, pulling gloves from his pocket before touching it again. He'd seen too many tricks in his career, too many smiles hiding knives. And then in Victor's eyes he saw it, the flicker of recognition. It hit James like lightning. He remembered the face, though older, thinner, more hollow. Years ago, during his time as an officer, he had led a raid against a gang involved in trafficking. Victor had been there. His brother, Marcus Hale, had been arrested that day. Marcus had later died in prison after a violent altercation. Victor had screamed in the courtroom that he would never forgive Officer Walker. And now here he was, standing in front of him with poison in his hand. James's jaw tightened. "Victor Hale," he muttered, realization sharp. "I should have known." Victor's mask cracked completely. His hand twitched as if to snatch the bottle back, but Titan lunged so fiercely that he stumbled into the fountain's edge. "You ruined my family," Victor spat, his voice trembling with rage. "My brother died because of you. I lost everything, and today you are going to lose everything too." The crowd gasped. Whispers turned into shouts. Phones lifted to record. Parents shielded children from the escalating chaos. James kept his voice calm, steady, the voice of a man who had seen too much but refused to break. "Your brother made his choices, Victor. You blame me, but the truth is, justice caught up to him, and now it's caught up to you." Within minutes, sirens blared. A patrol unit, alerted by the disturbance, rushed into the park. Officers stormed the scene, restraining Victor as Titan barked furiously until James commanded him to heel. Tests on the bottle confirmed Eli's desperate warning. Traces of a toxic chemical swirled in the red liquid, a dose strong enough to kill a man and a dog. The crowd erupted in murmurs of disbelief and admiration. Victor was dragged away in handcuffs, his shouts echoing, "This isn't over! You'll pay!" But no one listened. Justice had silenced him again. As the chaos subsided, James crouched down in front of Eli. The boy stood trembling, his fists clenched at his sides, eyes wet with unshed tears. "You saved me," James said quietly. His voice carried weight, steady but filled with gratitude. "You saved Titan, and you saved everyone here from something worse." Eli shook his head. "No one ever believes me," he whispered. I couldn't stay quiet this time." James's gaze softened. He saw more than a boy. He saw the bruises of a soul too young to be scarred, a child who had been forced to notice danger because danger had been his whole life. "Most kids would have stayed silent," James said. "But you had the courage to speak. That's what makes a protector." Titan nudged Eli's hand with his nose, tail wagging for the first time since the incident. Eli's lips curved into the smallest, shyest smile as his fingers brushed through the shepherd's fur. For a boy who had lost everything, that simple gesture felt like belonging. Days later, James couldn't stop thinking about Eli. He had learned more about the boy's past, his parents' accident, the foster homes that had failed him, the way neighbors treated him like a stray. It haunted James. He saw too much of himself in the boy's loneliness. Once, long ago, James had been a father too, but life and distance had stolen that role from him. His service had left him with regrets, with nights spent wondering if he'd chosen the job over family too many times. And now here was Eli, brave, broken but burning with the same protective spirit James had always lived by. So James made a choice. He filled out the papers. He visited the foster office. And weeks later, standing in the same park where fate had brought them together, he knelt beside Eli and said words that changed both of their lives. "You're not alone anymore, son. You've got a family now. Me, Titan, us." Eli's eyes widened, disbelief warring with hope. And then, for the first time in years, he cried. Not from pain, but from relief. He buried his face into Titan's fur as the shepherd licked his cheek, tail wagging wildly. The crowd of onlookers who had gathered that day, remembering the boy's courage, clapped and cheered. But James didn't hear them. He only saw Eli, the boy who had saved his life, and whom he now promised to protect for the rest of his days. That sunny afternoon in Brookside had started like any other, but it ended with danger exposed, justice delivered, and a lonely boy finding a family. Sometimes heroes wear uniforms. Sometimes they have fur and wagging tails, and sometimes they are just children, forgotten, overlooked, but brave enough to raise their voice when the world needs it most. And that day, 3 protectors walked out of Riverside Gardens Park together: a retired officer, a loyal German shepherd, and a boy who had found his place in the world at last.